Hey, I'm Sid, and welcome to the channel. For this week's video, I signed up for the 8 Bits to Infinity Game Jam. This was my first ever game jam, so I was really excited, and I knew that with the quarantine going on and my chronic habits of ignoring my schoolwork, I'd have plenty of time. So I hope you enjoy the video, and drop a comment or a like or subscribe if you really want to, and just let me know that you want more videos like this. So, for those of you who don't know, a game jam is basically a contest where in a certain amount of time, you and maybe a couple other people have to make a game. It usually has restraints or limitations on it and always has a theme. And so I decided to take part in the 8 Bits to Infinity Jam, which I loved and I had a really great time and the community was so nice about it. So I totally recommend it if you're looking for a jam to kind of ease you into the whole world of game jamming. So on the first day of the jam, which I count as the day the jam got announced, I found out the theme, which was no enemies. Along with this, the games had to be considered easy, think like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing. Now I was pretty excited for this because that was the theme I had voted on, and because of this I already had a few ideas of what I wanted my game to look like. I decided that I wanted to do a mashup of two games into an idea. I took a fantastic game named Papers, Please, and the best game of all time, Papa's Pizzeria, which I consider the best game, not Freezeria. You can fight me on that if you would like. I eventually came up with the idea of having a game where you worked in an animal shelter. At the shelter, you'd have families come in with applications, you would approve them or reject them, then match them with the perfect animal. I eventually settled on this idea because I liked it the best and couldn't think of something else, so I got started on drawing a bunch of animals as well as some other stuff. The first thing I drew, though, was what you're seeing on your screen now, which is the icon or the avatar for the player. I decided to name him Bear, and he was probably my favorite part of this whole project. I really enjoyed drawing him, but unfortunately I did have to cut him out of the project last second because he really didn't fit in the game, and I felt really bad because I spent a ton of time on him. But if I ever come back to this project, I'll definitely bring him out of retirement because he was the best part about it. So RIP Bear, I'm gonna come back for you one day. Next, I designed the letter of adoption for the animals, which listed their name and species. Then I thought about it and I was like, I'm kind of missing something here. Then I realized I was missing the animals, so I went ahead and just did that. I was really worried how they would come out at first because I struggle a little bit when it comes to art, but they ended up coming out really well, better than I expected, and I was super happy with the results. This one was probably my favorite. It took me a few tries, but I ended up kind of getting them right after looking up a few images of cats, and this is definitely my favorite. Look how happy he is. He was perfect, and none of the other ones turned out as good, but this was definitely my favorite. I tried to make a dog as well, but the dog, at least the first try, just didn't go well at all. So I ended up getting rid of it because, yeah. This, I think, actually turned out to be one of the other cats because the dog it wasn't working out that well. But I did eventually make a dog. I made 3 different types, which were just the same model with different colors. So, big galaxy brain energy. I ended up losing the footage from day 2, but there wasn't a lot to show anyways. I finished all of my code in about an hour. All I wanted to do was generate a name, a profile picture, and a species from a list. It was easy, and I was kind of just trying to figure out what I wanted to do for the next day, and it took me about an hour to do everything. And then I was thinking about it, and I was reading over my code, and I was like, wow, this is hot garbage. I was like, fine, whatever, it's not working because I designed it poorly, but I can just redo it, it's fine. I've only been working for an hour today. So I spent 2 hours and just kind of grinded through rewriting the system, which was, in theory, a good idea, until I realized that I'd actually just made it worse, and it was now more wrong than it was before, and it worked even worse than it did before. So I spent some more time,
3 days later,
4 extra hours of more time, and finally got everything working. Although I overprogrammed like crazy and I just killed myself over literally nothing. I was a bit tired after my coding sprint on day 3, so I only worked for about 3 hours. But all of the work the day before paid off because everything went so smoothly on day 3. All I did was create a way to assign preferences to an animal as well as traits and make sure to store the animals somewhere, as well as load them into the scene when you match the animals with their families. And the reason it took me more than 20 minutes was because I needed to load the animals into other scenes. And at first, I wanted to use data serialization, which means you could come back to and load a saved game. But then I was like, that's way too much work, fuck it. And I scrapped it and just finished the system with no problems. Although I do want to mention, I used text files to do this. I would put information in text files and then read them using the system.io class. And I would like to mention that this caused me so much pain and anguish about 3 days from now, and I'll get into that when it rolls around, but just remember that. On day 4, I woke up in a literal panic. I totally forgot what day it was, and thinking that it was Wednesday, I was convinced that I was an entire day behind. You see, I had a really strict schedule planned out, and by Wednesday I was supposed to be finishing up the game loop that I had just started the day before. And I didn't really kind of connect the wires that the reason why the game loop wasn't anywhere near to being done was because it was Tuesday and not Wednesday, but those threads never connected and I was panicking. So I spent 9 hours at my desk figuring everything out and programming the entire game loop. And even though I had to kill myself to get there, like not getting up to eat type dying, I ended up with a really productive system and a really good day overall, even if it was like the longest coding sprint I've ever done, which I don't recommend, but 10 out of 10, except for the whole didn't leave my desk for 9 hours thing. I really didn't do too much on day 5. I was kind of recovering, so I slept in for most of the day. I slept in until 5, which is when I knocked out the UI for the shop. I decided that I would program the functionality the next day, but for today I just wanted to get everything in place so I could get started as soon as possible. After that, I made some art assets for the animals that I was going to have in the shop. I started out with the cat, which I liked. It was okay. I tried to make it have like a cool little scar, but I gave up and went on to the goldfish. The goldfish I hated. I think he sucks, but I didn't want to get rid of him because I spent like 20 minutes on it. So here he is in all his glory. I tried to make a fishbowl. The fishbowl turned out ugly and it made me hate him even more, so he doesn't get a fishbowl. He has to suffer. And then I decided to work on making like a little sort of rat thing, but I really couldn't figure out how to make a rat, so I ended up just calling it an alien and pretending that it was nothing but an alien, like it had never been anything else but an alien, and no one would ever know. But I ended up kind of liking him. He looks kind of funny. But yeah, that was pretty much the end and everything I did on day 5. I took it easy on day 6, just implementing the shop functionality and point system, which was easy enough. At this point in the project, I was starting to get a little burned out from nearly a week of nonstop work, along with all of the other stuff I had to deal with during the week, like going out to Best Buy and buying a new microphone and trying to kind of do some of my work. So I was trying to conserve all of my energy for any problems that would pop up on day 7, which inevitably there would probably be quite a few. So yeah, I took it easy and went straight into day 7. So day 7, or Thursday, was the last day of the jam. Technically, I had until Friday to submit it, but because I started on the same day that the jam was announced, and I wanted to have everything sent in by Thursday, I considered it the last day for my project. I finished up all the functionality for the shop and settled on a price for each one of the animals in there, which wasn't difficult, and then I started testing the builds. This wasn't super difficult, and I didn't record during it because it wasn't anything super exciting. It was a lot of me just adjusting the UI and making sure everything scaled well enough with the screen size. And then I designed my itch.io page, zipped up my game, and everything was good. I decided, just to be safe, I would download the build off of my itch.io page and just run it as a standalone application. And I wasn't worried because I had built it 1,000,001 times off of Unity on my computer, and it had been totally fine. It was not totally fine. Nothing worked. I mean, the game ran, but nothing was being created, and it seemed like nothing at all was working, and I couldn't wrap my mind around why.
What am I gonna do?
But with the power of God and Stack Overflow on my side, I figured out that the reason why my game wasn't loading any information in was because of the text files. For some reason, when running a standalone application, Unity has no idea what I'm talking about when I try and load in information from said text files. And as a result, nothing was being created. No pets, no families, no nothing. So all I had to do was delete the text files, put all the information in by hand, and I was good as gold. Even though that was a little bit annoying, I was glad I was able to figure it out before I had to submit my game, and I was able to submit my game for my very first game jam 18 hours early. Overall, this was a fantastic game jam. I had a fantastic time, and I think what I made was, it's not going to win any awards or anything, but I think it was good for the time I had. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the new mic, and I will see you next week. Stay safe, stay home. See you later.